the only one that got lost.
Well, I'm glad that the call time was actually 9:30 because I tried to get there at 9 and it was completely.
Oh.
I'd forgotten this area was weird with the mountains cutting off certain streets, and so I got stuck having to go around.
The date is November 12, 1995. The survivor is Hetty Spitz. Her last name at birth is Smilovich. The interviewer is Louise Barbaro. The city is Phoenix in the state of Arizona. The country is United States of America, and the language is in English. My name is Louise Barbaro. Today's date is November 12, 1995. I am conducting an interview with Hetty Spitz. The interview is being conducted in Phoenix, Arizona. Hello.
Hello.
What is your complete name?
Hetty Spitz.
Would you spell your last name?
S-P-I-T-Z.
What was your name at birth?
Shmilovich.
Would you spell that?
S-M-I-L-O-V-I-C.
What is your birth date?
Oh boy, I was born October 20, 1920.
In your present age right now?
75.
Where were you born?
I was born in Patskanyovo.
Would you be able to spell that? Do the best you can.
P-O-C-K-O-N-O-V-O.
What country was that in when you were born?
Czechoslovakia.
And what large city would that be near?
Munkac.
Munkac. Did you grow up in this small town, or did you move to Munkac?
I moved to Munkac at age 6.
Tell me about Munkac. What kind of city was it like?
Munkac was a city of 30,000 Jews. A beautiful city. And a lot of shuls, of course. A little more about Munkac. It was mixed there, Jews and Gentiles. We had schools, we had shops, and even restaurants. We had a restaurant under our name, Shmilovich. And a lot of food, a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables. It was a very happy city.
I'd like to talk a little bit for a minute about your parents. What was your father's name?
My father was Markus Shmilovich.
And his occupation?
His occupation, we had a restaurant and we had a grocery store. His main occupation was the prayer book. And he wrote a lot of stuff. He was a very religious man and helped for other people. And he would sit down with a gypsy woman, even if he was a religious man, and listen to her problems and seeing if he can help her. In Munkac was not an average city in Europe. There was, like I said before, a lot of religious people. In the whole city, we had everything there. Fruit and beautiful mountains, hills, rivers, swimming, and it was a happy place to live.
Tell me about your mother. What was your mother's name?
My mother's name was Hannah.
Do you remember her maiden name? Her maiden name before she was married?
Was Hannah. That was Hannah in Yiddish. In Hannah was in Russian.
Her last name, though, before she got married.
Before she got married, Schwartz.
And did she work with your father, or did she have her own occupation?
No, we had a restaurant, and like I mentioned before, and other businesses, and she worked in the businesses.
Tell me a little bit more about your mother. What was she like?
My mother was wonderful. There isn't many mothers today. Really, she was special. She helped for a lot of people who needed help. She helped in business. She spent a lot of time in business because my father spent last and last. He was donated his life to Judaism, to religion, more than to the business. But he was a very happy man and a very well-known man in the city because he helped whoever he can, rich or poor. We had lawyers, two young brothers who just began to, they graduated. If they had a problem, they came to my father to ask how to talk and what to talk about it and so on. Like I mentioned before, he was a very, very gifted, smart man.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I had 2 brothers and 9 sisters.
What do you remember about growing up with your brothers and sisters?
It was just wonderful. As I compare today how children growing up in this country, of course, it was a different life. We was all close friends. Wherever my brother went, my sister, wherever he had anything, we was always with it. In a lot of happy occasions spent together.
Tell me about the holidays in your home. First of all, were you raised in a Hasidic family? Were they Hasidic?
Yes.
What was the name of the Hasidic Rebbe that they followed?
Oh, it's very hard to remember. It's 60 years, 70 years. But the Munkachi Rebbe, I would say.
Tell me about, do you remember anything about the Rebbe? Did you meet him, or?
The Rebbe was like the average Rebbe. If anybody needed some help, they went to the Rebbe. Had problem with a baby, they went to the Rebbe. And he was a wonderful man.
Tell me about the holidays in your home, Shabbos. What do you remember about Shabbos?
About Shabbos, my father dressed in a nice black suit with his beard in the hole, in a Bieber, they call it Bieber hat, and davening, singing, praying before the dinner was served. And of course, in between the dinner, there were stories. And everybody was silent, not like today, when the parents speaking is silence. And he was a very smart man, very learned man, and a very kind man. He never spanked us, and we was 11 children. He was talking only with words, what we done wrong.
Well, tell me about the holidays. What do you remember about Pesach?
Pesach? With so many children around, it was a happy holiday. And like I said before, my parents was very happy people. We could not be in a bad mood. The mood was always very happy. And when Pesach came, of course, everybody waited for those good potato pancakes and the good food, and a lot of happiness was going around in the house and excitements. It was wonderful to be in Munkach on Pesach And today I still remember those Pesachs in his beautiful memories. I try to give my children those memories, but I hope they will remember. They are born Jews and they will die as Jews. And their children will follow the same religion, the same holidays like we did.
Do you remember Sukkot? Did you have a sukkah in your youth?
Oh yeah, without a sukkah there was no sukkahs. A lot of beautiful, handmade, prepared, all kind of, how you call it, stuff to make beautiful the sukkah. It was a lot of friends and uncles spent with us the sukkahs. And it was really a beautiful holiday, unforgettable holiday, which I try to copy in my life for my children. And if you believe it or not, all my children are religious. I have a son, a rabbi. One son is a doctor, but he never forgets that he is a Jew. And the girls raise their children in Hebrew school and speak perfect Hebrew, both girls. And of course, when a holiday comes, it's beautiful because they all follow the mothers' and fathers' tradition.
What school did you attend in Munkach? Did you go to public school or yeshiva?
Public,
or?
no yeshiva, public school, in only 8 years of public school.
Did you have any non-Jewish friends?
Yes, it was mixed, Jewish and non-Jewish.
Did you get along
Because
well?
the neighborhood where we lived was such Jewish and non-Jewish.
And you got along well?
Very well.
Do you remember the house you lived in? What did it look like? Was it a house or an apartment?
A house.
A house.
With so many children, how could you have apartment? And in those days, apartment hardly was seen. Everybody bought a little home, a big home, a medium home, but it was homes, not apartments.
What was
in
your
those
house?
homes, they didn't move like here. They moved. I was born in a house until I was married. I was still in the same house. And so my brothers and all sisters, one house for a lifetime.
Did you, when you were growing up, did you have any experiences yourself with anti-Semitism before the war? Did anybody
Yes.
treat you?
Yes, there always was. Not so heavy, but always anti-Semitism existed.
Did you have any boyfriends before the war?
Oh, now you hit the right subject. As you know, I came from a religious family, and we were very well known in the city. And a little boy who was that time 13 and I was 14, I had to put on a story about something. In the class there was a lot of children from all over, first grade till fourth grade, and that was the first grade. And there was sitting in the corner a boy, and he was looking at me, looking and looking, and after it was over said, "Can I walk you home?" And I look at him, walk me home. I says, "No way, but I know your father." So, you know, a girl is, it's an interesting stage of age 14. And he was beautiful, big blue eyes and curly blonde hair. And I looked, if I was learning to be a wig maker already that time. So I look hair, right? And he had beautiful hair. And I had done my best. He was my boss's son. He walked me home once, and he walked me 7 years back and forth. And that's how it went. And after 7 years, the war was over, we remained alive, and we got married.
What was your husband's name?
My husband's name was Arthur, and now I have my little grandson, a little Arthur. He died about 4 years ago. Unexpected, he was never sick, and he had a heart attack. So my first grandson, we named him Arthur. He's a precious little boy. But it was very bitter after 38 years to lose a husband.
You mentioned to me that
Yes.
after you finished school that you became
A wig maker.
a wig maker. You learned that
And
in
I
Munkach?
married the wig maker's child, the wig maker's son.
Did you know about what was going on in Germany before your town was occupied? Did you know what was going on?
Yes.
What did you know was happening?
They killing Jews. They going out city for them, chasing them, from home. And that's all we know. And we didn't know everything, but we knew that the Jews are taken away. And that was so true. When the time came for us, I knew exactly what's waiting for us.
Did your family try in any way to leave Munkach before the city was occupied? Did you try to get out?
No, only me. I had a cousin. And I was that time about 19, 18 years old. And he wanted to take me out. Wherever he went, I don't remember. And I said, no, I go where my parents and my sisters. And I left with my parents. First, we had together about a week in what do you call it? Not concentration camp, that was a week later.
So let me backtrack for a minute.
All right.
You didn't marry your husband till after the war,
After the
correct?
war.
So you continued to go out with him, but you didn't get married till after.
Right.
Okay. Now, what happened the day that Munkach was occupied? What do you remember when it was occupied?
I didn't remember, just we were so bewildered and so surprised, like my father's beard was ripped off and walking on the street. The hairs kept cutting with scissors. And they was young boys, maybe 15, 16, who was very mean and beat up the people, and they were not even soldiers.
Who were they? Were they Germans or Hungarians?
They were Hungarians.
So when Munkach was occupied, what restrictions began to be placed upon you and your family? Do you remember? What
Alles
changed?
heraus. That's all we knew. All out from the house. That was the change. And we never went back again.
Where did they send you?
It was factories only in the city till they sent us away. From there, everybody went to a different place.
So first you went to a factory with your family, right? Like a ghetto?
Yes.
Was it a ghetto?
Yes.
And it was in a factory?
No, it was empty place, just empty trees and so on. But they made a ghetto out of it. Before it was a factory.
Do you know what year this was?
1946 or 47.
You sure?
Yeah.
So you were sent to a ghetto.
Right. We were there a short time.
Tell me about the ghetto. What were the conditions like in the ghetto?
In the ghetto was nothing but grass and trees and empty floors. It was nothing.
How many
nothing
people?
to eat, nothing to drink. We was sleeping on the floors with no covers. And maybe there was 10,000, more than that. In our city, I can remember exactly how many people there was, but it was about 15,000 people, children. And we all was raining or whatever. It was May, the most beautiful month of the year. Everything was blooming and living, but our life began no good. And that's all I remember
Of the ghetto.
of the ghetto. And when we left,
How long were you in the ghetto?
a week, 1 week only.
And who guarded the ghetto? Who was in charge?
The German soldiers. And of course, we couldn't eat, we couldn't drink, nothing was giving in the ghetto period for a week.
Were you able to take anything with you from your house? When they forced you out of your house into this ghetto, could you take anything with you?
No, we had to go like that. Nothing was taken, just what we had on.
And you went with your mother?
Mother, father, sisters, brothers. And from there we went straight to Auschwitz with a train.
Tell me about the train ride. What was the train ride like?
That was horrible because it was really small children. The children were screaming, the grown-ups crying, yelling. Panic, a big panic.
Did you know where you were going? Did they tell you?
Nobody knew where we was going. And when we arrived, was big signs everywhere, Auschwitz. We never heard about Auschwitz. What did we know about Auschwitz? Nothing. Till the train stopped and they put us in a big room. We had to get undressed completely. We all got showers. Then on the other side was showers too. But those showers was full of gas. And people who perished in Auschwitz or who didn't come home or who did not live was there in that room, remained completely naked and died from the gas coming in Auschwitz for the places. Of course, we who was alive, we didn't know nothing what was happening. We got everybody a little something, a dress. I had a long dress with only one sleeve. And the first thing, we got a bed already before, and then came the hair cutting. Every girl, every mother, every old or young who was there on that place, their hair was cut off completely. Nothing to wear on the head. We didn't recognize each other, sisters. Of course, our mother was gone. She was different place, but we didn't know.
When you got off the cattle car, Did they have a selection? In other words, did they tell you to go in one line
Yes.
and somebody to go? Who were
Yes.
you with? Were you with your
With my
sisters?
sisters. I had 3 sisters with me. I was the 4th one, and then a cousin of mine.
And where did your mother went to a different line?
Yes.
Did you?
And my father went to a different line. So my father remained in a concentration camp. And if you want to listen to this, one day before the war was over, my father was sent to be killed. And he never came home. A day before the end was over. But we didn't know that. We just find out to the end. You know where I find out they had the first meeting in Washington. It was, I don't know, years ago, for all the Holocaust survivors, whoever. And a man was looking at me, and he says, "I knew your father." He says, "He looked just like you." And he was killed a day before. He told me the whole story, this man who was with my father. And that's how ended my father's life. The day before, he could have been free.
How?
But life goes on.
What happened? Your mother was on a different line than you and your sisters?
Yes, yes. My mother was gassed because I had a sister who went the same road where my mother and the children, and those people never returned, never was killed.
Do you know who was making this selection? Do you remember the name?
Mengele,
Did you see Mengele yourself?
yes.
Could you describe him?
He was a very tall man with brown hair, and that's all I can remember.
Did he decide which line you were going on?
Yes, it's up to him to decide. Left, right, and that's how it went.
Tell me about, you were in Auschwitz-Birkenau?
Yes.
Tell me about the barracks you were in. Do you remember the number of the barracks?
26B.
Tell me about it.
Those big barracks, maybe 100 or 150 people could get in, or maybe more. I can't tell you exactly. We was 10 people. It was beds, bunk beds, land, but 3, 4 on the top of each other. And like I said, about 10 people. We was laying together on one side with no covers of any kind, no food of any kind. We couldn't talk, just lay still. And that's how it began, life in Auschwitz.
Were you with your sisters in the bunk?
Yes.
And were there just Jews in this bunk, or were there other nationalities?
No, only Jews.
Do you remember any of the capos?
No,
Or the...
it's almost 50 years passed by. Can't remember so many, the names, and who knew the name? They wouldn't give you the real name.
What did they feed you? What did they feed you?
Once a day in the morning we got some, they say soup, but it was absolutely little warm water with inside, I never seen it before, we couldn't even swallow it, but was in that soup.
12th, 1995. Hetty, we left off talking about being in Auschwitz and the food that you were given, which you mentioned was like a watery soup.
Yes.
And anything else? Were you given anything else to eat?
No, no.
What sisters were you with? What are their names? The sisters that you were with.
Their name today is Yafa Mermerstein. She lives in Israel. She picked Israel. And then Florcha. Oh my, I even forgot her name.
And the third sister?
And the third sister, Shari.
Shari?
Shari.
So there were 4 of you together.
Yes, 4.
Did you have your menstrual period in Auschwitz?
No, my menstrual period stopped the first day. They gave us something to drink, but we didn't know. And that was, we didn't have the period all the time since the drink.
Did any of the women in your barracks that you know of, did anyone give birth, or was anybody pregnant?
Yes. Matter of fact, a relative of mine gave birth to a baby. It was a beautiful little boy. And right away they came in, the SS soldiers. And how could they find out so fast? The baby screams a minute. My father-in-law, my mother-in-law, held us tight. And here came the SS and took away the baby and the wife, the mother. And we never see her again. And that was the end. There were 6 boys and 1 daughter. And 1 boy only remained alive, who after the war we met and we visited together. For 6, 7 people, 1 child. And there where she lost her life in Auschwitz.
Did you witness any punishments while you were in Auschwitz?
No, because where I was punishment enough if we were there. We had such strict orders when to sleep, when to get up. Was like in the army. And busy. Some got sick, some got mentally sick. And we just tried to keep ourselves pretty much quiet.
What happened when somebody got sick?
Somebody got sick, there was a hospital, they called it. They put them in there, and when it was enough for the transport, 15, 20, out they went, who knows where we all go after that. After life comes death.
Did you do any work at all while you were in Auschwitz? Did they assign you to do anything?
No, not after Auschwitz. They took me someplace to a farm where we was building some kind of stuff which they needed in some other farms.
But in Auschwitz you were not
No,
working?
in Auschwitz we were not
So tell me
working.
about your day there. What time did they wake you up?
5 o'clock in the morning, stay in line till 7. And 7 o'clock was, I think, what they call breakfast, some little water with something. And then we had nothing to do all day. We was locked up in big places.
What would you talk about? If you were locked up in the bunk, right, in the barracks, what did you...
Could you believe it? That it was mostly silence. What can we talk about? in a case like that. And there was constantly soldiers walking up and down and watching our behavior, or what we doing or what we not doing.
Did you see your mother anymore?
No.
Did you know what happened?
No. No. We didn't know.
Did you have any...
Later we know,
Later.
because people who was there in Auschwitz and where they oh gosh, my language. He told us, a cousin of ours, that my mother and my sisters was burned because he was the one, not he, a lot of Jewish boys who was helping with to kill the people to the end. Everything was not burnt. They throw them in, what do you call it? Gas. And that's how their life ended.
Did you know when you were inside Auschwitz, did you know about the gas chambers and the crematoria? Did you know?
Yes. There was gas chambers, there was crematoriums, there was transports coming every day, and they went to the crematorium, which we happened to see from villages, from other cities, and so on. Auschwitz was a busy place. A lot of people was killed in bitter cries, in bitter screams. Late at night, the cars was just driving along, with people, live people, screaming people, who went to the crematorium and never returned home. That's all what I remember. The big, loud screams during the night while I was in Auschwitz.
Did you have a number on your arm?
This is interesting, a question you ask me. No numbers. Before me, looks like I had to be here today, tell you the story, what happened. Before me, they stopped giving the thing. One line. You said, back to the room from where we came from. And believe me, because I wasn't tattooed, I can talk here today after so many years. But God wants to spare somebody. They should be able to talk. And that's all I can tell you. I've seen many things, many ugly things happening during the war, and I hope it never happens again. But I remember not even everything, because many years passed, it's 50 years. And if I didn't have enough, I was in the hospital, very seriously ill, not long ago. But look, I have to be yet alive, because there is more stories to tell. Stories who other people don't know.
Your sisters, were they given numbers?
We were one line. 5 people had one, and so my 4 sisters, and a sister-in-law, not a sister-in-law, a relative, was in our line. A girl from our city, Munkach, and her name was Weiss, beautiful girl. She stuck with us wherever we went. She came. But she also, if you believe it or not, remained alive. Only one girl from 6 children.
While you were in Auschwitz,
Yes.
Were you aware of any of the religious holidays that came along? Could you observe anything at all?
No. How could you observe if you in one thing there are 1,000 people in a big Chabad talis or Chabad Such doesn't exist. It's one dress we received, the one dress, nothing else. No panties, no underwear, no shoes. And that's what we had to live, what we did. The question I'm asking even now, my father was such perfect man, a religious man. Why? I said, why God picked him? Why did he die? But the answers nobody knows, and perhaps just one day when we be gone to the other world, which I have not even dreams now, we find out maybe more.
The sanitary conditions in Auschwitz, what were they like?
Terrible. Full of... One toilet was maybe a mile away, built a long toilet, not one toilet, but a place where people could go. Boys and girls. It was very far to go. When we got there, we couldn't go in. So everybody had to be dirty, most of them. And we lived there. It's unbelievable to what panic, what they gave it. They gave us a bath once a month, and they threw us another dress, another pants, whatever. And we got used to it. We know we have to live with it, whatever it was. I especially came from a family where we was taught we should do the best what we can in our lifetime. That's what I did. I just always remembered my father, and I said, I have to live. I loved my father and mother very much, but my father was a special person. And I thought, I hope I see him again. But as I had told you from the story, a day before the war ended, he was killed. And here I am, still alive. I was 75 last week. I never dreamed 75. But I see God doesn't let me go yet. I'm not ready.
How long were you in Auschwitz?
A year and a half.
What happened on the day that why did you leave? What did they tell you, where you were going?
To work. And we went to villages, to farms. I can't remember exactly. Yeah, we was digging some ditches, or what you call it, for other cars to fall in. The enemy cars, when they come to get buried in that big ditch.
So you left Auschwitz with your sisters?
Yeah.
And
one sister ran away in Auschwitz. And would you believe it? That sister arrived the same time she find the transport where we was going. We selected out, and she went in between those rest of the girls. And when we arrived to the village, we cried, all kind of feelings you still had feelings with all that punishment. And I take a look, and my sister was standing there. She's still alive, thanks God. My children today wondered that we're such good sisters. I says, yes, you can learn a sister is very important in a brother. But I can tell that my children are special. They're 2 boys and 2 girls. They love the people, they help people. One is a doctor. One was a lawyer, and you see the non-justice in law in the United States goes on today. He never told me that. He came home and he says, I don't want to be a lawyer. He left for 2 years. and he wandered. He came back, and he took 6 more years, and he became a rabbi. And he is today the happiest man in the United States, and the happiest rabbi.
You were 4 sisters that were together?
Yeah.
Let me make sure I understand the
Yes.
story correct. One of those sisters tried to escape from Auschwitz?
Yes.
Which sister?
She tried to run away. She didn't know where. And it happened to be she ran in to the same truck or whatever where we was.
Which
My
sister?
sister is Rita Weiss,
Rita.
and she's in Atlantic City today. And too bad her husband got very sickness, is already 17 years, multiple sclerosis, but she's still, this is not my pride, our parents, is the way you raise your child, raised us always to be happy. And today when we two are together, we sing, we go to places, she's happy.
So the 4 of you were together and you were taken on a transport. Was it another cattle car or a truck
Yes.
ride?
Oh God, but she wants me to remember. No, trucks.
And
No, yeah, trucks.
Trucks, and they took you to another village?
Yeah, to another, no, it wasn't a village, just a farm. And they had their bunks and so on. And there where we was digging, what did I said before?
Was this another camp
Yes.
that you were taken to?
It was really not a camp. There was just maybe 1,000 people who was taken away to this place.
Women, just women?
Only women, yes.
What were the conditions like there where you had to work?
We got a dish of potatoes there and some more water than usually. And it was all day long, around 4 o'clock in digging. In the very cold winters. It was December already, with snow, no shoes. I don't know how I can remember those things, but I still remember something. I don't know where I have to finish.
How long were you in this field, this farm digging?
About 4 months till May, from December till May. In May, we was liberated.
So you were in this field the whole time.
Yes.
Did you try to escape
No
it?
way, I escaped from there. And I was by my sister also, all 3 sisters. And I was in a village with German private. We were watching their children or cleaning the house and so on, because we said we are Russian and we spoke Russian.
Let me stop you for...
They would not take a Jew in those days, if I say we Jewish.
How did you escape? Tell me what happened.
Just walked away.
You were still at this village digging the trenches.
Yes,
for
and at night
And at night you just decided to escape.
we took a walk.
How many of you decided to
5.
escape?
My sisters, in a 5th girl was my cousin.
And did you know where you were going to
No.
go?
No, how did we know? We didn't know where we go.
So you just left in the middle of the night.
And was walking and walking and walking and walking. We saw even German soldiers walking. And what we did right away, because my hair was black, you see it's a Jew, not many black Jews. We put in, ripped up a little from here and from there and put up something on the head. People should not recognize us right away. And happened to be, when we were already more woods and more woods and more woods, and then came a village. in that village we all sit down in a different place. And there 4 or 5 people came, says, which one wants to come in my house? Like God sent that woman there or something. And we all want to go. We didn't care already where we go. And so they took me in a house with, and I was a beautician. I was learning how to make wigs at home. And I knew what to do with hair. Her daughter was getting married, and she needed, and it was some holiday, and she couldn't have her hair done. I said to her, I fix her hair. So I fixed up the bride with God's help, and she was the most beautiful help. And that woman fell in love with me, who kept me. She's in, and then a few days later, her hair came, and so on. And she treated me. I had to work on the fields to dig potatoes. And sure, I knew that too, because my father said when we were small, children have to learn everything. And he took us to fields and introduced certainly how it grows and why it grows and all that. And at home, he made little gardens with potatoes, So I knew how to dig potatoes and how potatoes grow and so on. So I knew my job, but I had to do besides. I was a very good beautician. She sure wouldn't let me go.
Was this a Polish lady?
Yeah.
And where were you now? You were out at, how far away from
Poland.
Auschwitz?
Far
were you?
from Auschwitz. What a question.
Were you in Poland or were you
In
someplace
Poland.
else?
In Poland.
In Poland.
It was out
And did
Poland.
they know that you were Jewish?
No.
What did they think you were?
Russian.
Russian?
You spoke Russian. Many Russians all over. You couldn't say you're a Jew, because who liked the Jews? Where they like the Jews? And because I have to tell you, but because I'm here yet today, and I can tell you, all over the world, you find who don't like the Jews.
Did you have a different name at this
Oh
point?
yeah, I was. If I would remember, we had a neighbor. They had 4 girls: Susanna, Maria. Oh, God knows that name. Was Olga, and the 4th, I can't remember really.
So what
And
name?
we played a role that we are. Wait, we were already Czech girls there. That's what we said. That's the name. Bubrak was the last name.
You remember your first name that you had?
Susanna was my first name.
So you were Susanna, and you said you were Russian
No.
or Czech?
Czech.
Czech.
Because we find out not long that a lot of Czech camps are there in that place where we was. And if you want to hear a story, one day I went out, and a Czech boy went for a walk. And he seen me, of course. I don't want to talk to nobody, especially a boy my age. And the boy came, and I speak Czech, of course, and he told me a story that about a bad life he has, and what's my name, and so on, and started being very friendly. I had to walk to another village, I don't know why. He walked me to that village. And you know what? That boy fell in love with me. But he wasn't Jewish. That was my thing. I came from a very religious home and went through big problems. A Jew I was born, and a Jew I will die. And so in one day he wanted to take me, that boy, to a beautiful place. His relative lived there, and they would come to pick him up, and they picked me up too. I said, no, thank you. And he gave me a kiss and said goodbye. And I remained there.
With this family, the
Yeah,
same
with the family.
How long were you with this family?
Not long, maybe 3-4 months. And the war ended in May.
Well, you were there. Did you know where your sisters were?
No, I had no idea. How could I know? No,
So you never saw them during this period of time.
no.
This family treated you well,
Very well.
and they never knew you were Jewish.
No.
Did they?
Even if they knew, I was cleaning the house, I was fixing their hair, I was watching the baby. So what didn't cost her any money. See, I looked Jewish, except I had, that face was there, that 50 years ago. But probably God wanted me to live, to tell you the story today.
Did they have you attend church with them?
Yes, I went to church every Sunday. I had to make a cross. She gave me the girl who was getting married. Since I have no clothes, and she was my size, I could wear anything of her. She gave me a whole package of clothes, lipstick, makeup, and Hetty start to live. Slowly, if I looked myself in a mirror, I couldn't believe it, it's me. But here I am today, still here and telling you the stories.
So what would happen when you went to church?
Waited for services and I would go back home. They had a car and they drove me back home with the rest of the family. And that's how ended my days. Till the day came when I looked out at night and the Russian soldiers, the trucks of Russian soldiers was driving in the village. And I spoke Russian too. I yelled in Russian, "Здравствуйте, здравствуйте." And they was they was throwing from that truck everything, bread and candy and cookies, and just left where they planned to go. And then we knew, now that I know that my sisters are there something too, someplace. But what happened, with God's help, the war was over. And we 4 sisters find each other in the same village. We were all. And then comes the time we going home. All the trains, everything was broken in Germany that time, all the roads. Says, how long we gonna stay here? But 3 weeks, we said, we were free, but no place to go. And finally, one road came, not the cars, how you call, where you go with the train, first train come, Praha, Československo. By the way, we registered, we wrote down our name in the first train to Czechoslovakia. We was on. And there was places that was bombarded and loose food from restaurants, from grocery stores open. And you know what my sister done? The older one, she was a dressmaker. She made 5 Czech flags.
Spitz. The date is November 12th, 1995. Hetty, before we talk about liberation and going back to Munkach, I want to go back to when you were living with this family. Was your life at any time endangered while you were staying there?
I was in danger if they find out I'm a Jew.
Did somebody find out?
No, nobody find out, and that's what I was lucky. Because I was very handy with, my hair started growing. I already had about an inch hair, but I always was wearing a scarf. And always up and down and, you know, fix it up fancy. In dresses I had plenty because the girl liked me so much and she got married, so she gave me a lot of her stuff.
Did you ever have to leave their house because somebody suspected that you were Jewish?
No. I never have to leave their house.
Did this family have any members who were Nazis?
She had a son in the army, and he came home one day for, I don't remember what kind of holiday it was, and he kept looking at me, and I always was in a different room where he was. He says, "Mom, she looks like a Jewish girl." And the mother said, "Oh no, she's a Russian girl," and there it ended.
Now, your sisters, how were you reunited with your sisters?
We all went to our hometown, and then there where we find each other. It took weeks, it took months by train, but everybody who wouldn't go to see their home.
So when you left, you were liberated by the Russians.
Right.
Do you know when that was?
Oh, what do you like me to know?
Was it spring, summer, winter, fall? Do you remember?
I really can't tell you this minute exactly.
You got back on the train to go to Czechoslovakia by yourself, or were you with your
With
sisters?
my sisters.
So you found your sisters in the town that you were in?
I find my sisters in where they were in the village with the Germans.
How did you find them?
The Russian occupied the territory where they was, and they was still there because they speak Russian and they made coffee and they so on. They didn't let them go home. They had to wait, so they working there till they were there not long, but 10 days or so.
So you ran into them, you found them.
Yes.
Were they all in good health?
They were all in good health.
Was one of your sisters sick?
Oh, one of my sisters had typhus. And of course, it took her 4 or 5 weeks. But she was all right to the end, except she has no hair. And Hetty had an answer. There is plenty weeks. Hetty's weeks is plenty all over.
So she developed typhus. Who took care of her?
The hospital where she was.
And when she got better, then all the sisters traveled together?
Yes.
How about the other girl that was with you? Did she go in Auschwitz? Did she go with you too?
She go with us
So
everywhere we went.
was
and
5
she's
of you.
still alive today in Jerusalem.
So you got on the train,
Yeah.
and you started to tell the story that your sister made Czech flags. She made some flags for
Yes,
the
from
train?
handkerchiefs. She find a factory which was free. I mean, bombed and so on. And she got material, white, blue, and red. And she was very handy. She was 14 years old, where she designed all kind of dresses for big people. And so she find there the thread or whatever she had to. And there we went with the Czech flags. Because when you come to a border or you come any place, they don't let you in. And We came home, but nobody was home. Yes.
You went back to Munkachevo.
We went back to Mukachevo, but our parents, as you know from the story, the father was killed the day before the war was over, and my mother was killed in Auschwitz. And but we remained 7 from the family, 2 brothers.
Where were your
and
brothers?
5 sisters.
What happened to your brothers?
My brother, one is here now. He was a big officer, a Czech officer in Czechoslovakia through the war. And after the war, many years after the war, somebody helped me to get him here, because already that time nobody could get out from Czechoslovakia.
So during
and so as he is here about 25 years in this country.
During the war, though, when you were in Auschwitz, where was he?
In a war, in Poland someplace, in Russia.
And you had another brother?
No.
No, just the one
I
brother.
had another brother, yeah.
You did. What happened to him?
He's still alive. He's in Canada.
What happened to him during the war?
He was a little boy during the war. And what happened to him, a Gentile, then was together, Gentiles and Jews in one concentration camp. And my brother was there. And when they was taking away the Jews from there, I forgot the name of it. They didn't took away my brother because he acted like a brother to the other man, and he was not Jewish. And if you want to know that the war was long over, and after 30 years, I met this man who in Germany took my brother as his brother. So, as you see, interesting things going on in my mind, in my head, which I will never forget. Sometimes I wonder, over 40 years, how could I remember? And I don't want to think about it, because life has to go on. I raised a family, business, and thanks God, I'm here telling you the story again.
So you went back to Munkachevo, and you reunited with your brothers, and your sisters were with you.
Yes.
Yes. Did you stay in Munkachevo for a while?
No, very short time.
What about your
Because
boyfriend?
the Russian, Harry got married first in Mukachevo.
Who got married?
Mukachevo.
When?
And we escaped in August, and we was home in May. And my wedding was in August, so we spent a little time home.
How did you find one another?
He was waiting by don't know how many weeks by the airport, where the trains coming with people, survivors. And he was there dressed up in a beautiful suit, had big blue eyes, and he was so happy to see me. But I was like a piece of wood, no feelings, I just was alive. And not long, the love affair started out, and soon we got married, age 21, and he was probably 20. And my older brother came in Russian military clothes yet for the wedding. And on the wedding, they steal everything from the house, from my house. So when we went back, there was another piece of clothes to put on. Nothing, absolutely nothing. The Russians took away everything, and they occupied our city. And then we took ourselves together and went deeper in Czechoslovakia. and started out a new life there. My husband was given a grocery store, but we knew the Russians are there. It was no life to live with the Russians. So we escaped on one night back to Germany, because there was a transport going to America. And so here I am in that blessed country, I would say over 40 years, and I can say every day, God bless America.
When did you come to America?
This she wants to tell me too. Oh my gosh.
Do you remember what year it was?
1947, a year later.
Did you come also with your sisters?
No, no.
They remained in
They
Czechoslovakia?
remained in Czechoslovakia because I went already with a husband. I had a husband. And they didn't. They couldn't go alone in the world with nothing, you know. Probably later on, one sister went to Israel, one sister Atlantic City. A boy fell in love with her right there, married her in Atlantic City. And so, in no time, they were all married, happily married. And I couldn't say they live ever after, because 2 of my brother-in-laws died about a year ago. But my sister's still alive and well and happy.
Where did you settle when you came to New York?
It was not settling. I really settled in Miami, in Florida. And we stayed there about 6 weeks. Was so terrible biting of the, what do you call them? They bite? Come on, those flies who bite. Why can't you help me out? Anyhow, we was bitten by those flies, mosquitoes. And I said, I don't want to stay in Miami. I want to go back to New York. In New York, we stayed 3 days. And a couple came from Miami and said, we take you to Miami. You're going to have a better life than in New York. We went to Miami, took us 10 days to get there. And wait a minute. For Miami, the weather was terrible hot in the mosquitoes. And then we settled in where I am from, Phoenix, Arizona. And Phoenix was wonderful to us, but I feel it was from God's help. I had no money. My husband, a few $100, what he already earned in a short time. We opened up a store, $1,000, but we're going to pay him. We didn't have $1,000. In a main street, in no time, we had $10,000, $15,000. That store was wonderful.
What kind of store was it?
A restaurant for the first store. And then New York was too hot. No, New York, I'm mixing it up. It's very hot here. We also visited, went back to Russia because my sister was coming, not to Russia, from Russia to New York. What can I say?
So you settled in Phoenix, and did you open up any wig stores?
Much later, I worked for big companies because my husband had a store. What kind of store? Business. Groceries. He was selling in smaller and then in wholesale. And so I was, my first son came alone. And then the second one, then a girl. In a girl, I was busy with raising the children and my husband.
How many children?
4.
I want to just go back to ask you about when you came to New York. Who did you stay with when you first arrived in New York? Okay, from...
They had not restaurants, hotels from the Jewish organizations, and there where we stayed.
And you decided you didn't like New York?
No. New York was a very hard city to get used to it. And first of all, it was so hot or so cold, I don't know which month we were there. And then we met somebody who said nothing like Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, there it was very cold when we was in New York. In Phoenix is warm. And he has an uncle in Phoenix, and we can stay with him for a while. So we went to Phoenix, Arizona. We went by car. It was a long trip. But we got here, and we are here for many years. All my children were born here in Phoenix.
When you drove by car from New York to Phoenix, where did you stay every night? Who did you stay
In
with?
the cars. What do you mean where you stayed every night?
Didn't you stop someplace to sleep for the night?
No, no. You do it on... No, we went on. We went 3 days straight and 3 nights, and I don't know how
You
long.
didn't stay with any families at all
Well, we had no family there.
on the way?
We came to America without family. But America is a wonderful place. And I say every day, God bless America.
Is there anything else that we've left out that you'd like to say?
Just, I mentioned before, God bless America. Every person has opportunity to make a home, to get work, if they are willing. It's up to the people. But we was willing to work, to save, to make a future for us in America.
Why do you feel you survived?
Because God wanted me to survive. Here are yet in Phoenix few survivors. You find I'm 76 or 75 years old. I survived. This is what you ask me, why I survived. Because my work is not finished yet. God wants a few people to have a life, to tell others what we lived through. And my job is still not ready. I have a son who is a rabbi, one is a neurologist, a teacher, all people who will give the new people new beginnings in new life. And I feel God let me live. So I have other children, so they survive. And the history goes on, that the Jews will always live. Even they want to kill them, no more Jews. It did not happen. I happen to see it. And we are living today. We will never forget. In God for sure. We will live till God wants us back.
What advice would you like to give your children, your grandchildren, future generations, after having survived the Holocaust? What advice would you like to give?
It's hard to answer a question that easy. The main thing is love your neighbor as you love yourself. Make friends. Help people who need help. Build homes where poor people can live. And main thing, today we have Israel lives again and has to live. We have to help Israel. And with God's willing, we all will live long lives and happy lives. We had enough, what's not pleasant and not good. We have to see that there is a good world too.
Thank you. Hetty, would you introduce your family?
Yes. I'm glad my family is here. After so many years, we're still here. In hope, still be many years to come. And this here is my brother, Leopold, who really kept us alive till now. With his wonderful singing, talking, good humor, and of course, to look at his nice hair, his face, it's enough. And this is my daughter. Oh, you know, I forgot even your name. Come on.
Olivia.
Oh, this is Olivia.
Yep.
You see, they took so much. I talk so much today, I'm forgetting things. That's Livia, my daughter. Livia Steingart today has 3 beautiful children. Her little boy, he has only 1 boy, and he's named after my husband, who I lost 4 years ago. But life is going on, as you see. There's my sister-in-law here, Ruzhana, my brother's wife, and we're good friends. We like sisters. We all are one, and we're hoping and praying we should live many more years together, because our work is not done yet.
Would anybody like to say something?
I would like to say something. We love Hetty very much.
Hi.
We know her since liberal Czechoslovakia, when I met my husband in 1945 after the war. It was a very romantic meeting because we met in a train. We went to Prague, and me too. I had my girlfriend with me. And since then, in 2 months we were married. So that since then we are very good friends, and also we appreciate, she took us from Czechoslovakia, she sent us an affidavit and everything, and this is the way we couldn't get out otherwise. So, and her husband also, which passed away 4 years ago. So they helped us to get here to the United States. We have one son, he lives in New York, and he is vice president in international department at the American Express.
They are all wonderful in America. And I say, God bless America. And here is my brother, who has something to say.
I want to say that we are celebrating and remembering it's 50 years when the war ended. The war ended in 1945, and now it's 50 years, 95. I just want to remember and to say, no more war, no more fighting, no more killing. I'm a veteran World War II. I was in combat since 1942 until 1945, and I got armor. I was discharged, and I was a 1st lieutenant, 2nd paratrooper brigade. And now you see, I am here, and I'm still alive. And this is what I want to repeat again. It's 50 years are gone. And I'm very happy that my sister Hetty, she took me after a while, you see, to United States, like my wife Ruzhana was was talking about, you know. And I'm thankful for her, and I'm thankful for everything what she did for us and what she did now also. I'm very glad to see to have a very nice niece. Her name is Livia, which one is staying here from the right my side. God bless her, and God bless my sister, and I wish my sister a lot on health and a soon recovery, then she be all right, and we are going to be again in good shape, and we be happy. And only peace on all over the world. This is what I'm saying, because I was gone through too much, you know. You can imagine very good, you see, to be in Russian in combat, you know, against the Nazis since 1941. When I came in the army, you see, I was 1942. I was a young boy, but I did it what I got to do, you know. And now you see, we see what's going on in the world. I wish it will be peace all over the world. Amen.
Peaceful.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank my mother for all her love, her hard work, and her wisdom that she always gave very freely. And God bless her and my family, and we're grateful to be here.
Who's not present today?
Who is not present is, of course, my father. Passed away about 4 years ago. His name was Arthur Spitz. I have an older brother, Mark Spitz, who's got 2 children, Joshua Spitz and Marilyn, and his wife, Carol Spitz. My brother, Ellie, who lives in California, has 3 children.
Who's a rabbi?
Who's a rabbi. Of course, we have to add that, and very proud of him. Of course, we're proud of Mark, too. He's a doctor. Anyway, Ellie has 3 children. Their names are Joseph Spitz, Jonathan Spitz, and Anna Rose, and his wife, Linda Kaplan Spitz. Then there is me, and I have a husband, Michael Steingard. And as my mother mentioned, 3 children, Leah Steingard, Arthur Steingard, and Rose Steingard. And then my sister has 3 children. Her name is Helene LaSalle, and her oldest is Benjamin LaSalle, and then she has Julia LaSalle and Rachel LaSalle, and her husband is Dove LaSalle. And it's a very nice, warm, loving family. We all are not only related, but we're also very good friends, which I'm very proud to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Okay.
Okay.
We have a nice son, which one is also thankful for my sister, Hedy. Which one he made a very success here in the United States. He was happy when he come here, and my sister and my brother-in-law, you know, they take care of him in the first time, and after this, you know, he's gone. He graduated in ASU University, you know, and thanks God for this year, and thanks for my sister. He is not up, he's not here, he live in New York. He's working in New York, you know. And I'm happy like a father, and then I can be proud of my son now. Then he is in the United States, and he really is in a good place.
12th, 1995. Hetty, who was that a picture of?
This is my dear grandma. Grandmas like that are not everywhere and not every day.
What was her name?
Her name was Miriam
And her last name?
Shmilovich.
Where was this taken?
In her village where she lived, Patskanyovo.
Who is this a picture of?
That's a picture for my dear parents.
Their names?
Their name is Shmilovich.
Do you know their first names?
Oh, sure, I know their first name.
Was Mordecai
Mordecai
and
and Hannah.
yes.
And where was this taken?
That was taken in Mukachevo, Czechoslovakia.
Do you know when, about?
When about 60, 70 years ago.
Who is this a picture of?
This is a picture of me after so many years.
When was it taken? About? How old were you there?
Maybe 20 years old in Czechoslovakia, Mukachevo.
Who is this a picture of?
Oh, this is a love story. This is my boyfriend. His name is Artur Spitz. And my name, Henyo Shmilovich. And two people are here, really in love.
When was this taken?
That was taken 60 years ago.
Where?
Munkac, Czechoslovakia. What's next? Show me the next. Oh, what's that? A wedding, my wedding. There wasn't.
Who is this a picture of?
This is a picture of my wedding. That was made in Czechoslovakia in Munkac. And 60 years ago, Leo, tell her the heater to close the heater.
Open the front door if she doesn't want.
That's right, open.
Who is this a picture of, the top picture?
This is a picture for my dear family many years ago. And that's my sister. Sisters and brothers, my parents. And of course, I'm there too. That's happy memories for me. There is in the world good and bad. But something very bad happened to me. But I'm here to tell you or to see those pictures today. I would like to share it with you.
Okay, who is that a picture of?
This is my dear brother, Leopold Shmilovich. And he was a great soldier from Czechoslovakia. We admired him always. He was the big brother, especially. He had so much wisdom and so much stories to tell for us from the war. War is over, and we are here.
Who is this a picture of?
This is my picture of my sisters and brother. Brothers, two brothers I have there. After we went through all those bad things, the Holocaust, concentration camps, we are here all together in a picture who remained alive.
Where was this taken?
This was taken in Atlantic City in Czechoslovakia.
In Atlantic City?
Yes. We went to a wedding.
In America?
Right.
Atlantic City
This
in
is
America.
in America, right. And that was beautiful, that we all remained here alive. And as you see from the pictures, happy faces after all that problems and all that sorrows, if you know, we went through. But we are here today alive.
Who is this a picture of?
This is a picture of my whole family, except my dear husband is missing, Arthur Spitz. Too bad. But we raised a beautiful family. Those are our girls and boys. And would you like to know the names? I don't know if I could.
Okay.
Who is this a picture of?
This is my granddaughter, Rachel.
Whose daughter is she?
He is Helene's daughter.
Who is this a picture of?
This is my real granddaughter, and her name is Rose. And she is beautiful. The name really suits her.
Whose daughter is she?
This is Livia's daughter and Michael's daughter.
Who is this a picture of?
This is Hetty Spitz.
And what are you doing there?
Oh, I have a wig shop for many, many years in Phoenix. Over 40 years. And a lot of beautiful customers. And today, my grandchildren learn how to make wigs.